Okay, quick video for myself, Harvey Goldman. As you can see, I am back at Goldman. Returned from Athens. Not a great holiday, if I'm being honest. More about that in another video. Today's video, I want to jump into a quick one about some of the news that's been happening while I've been gone. I purposefully kept myself out of the loop while I was over there. And yeah, I've come back to chaos. So I want to get into it. So today's video is, why is Labour backtracking so much in the media over, I guess, what we can assume are going to be inevitable tax hikes in the upcoming November budget? That's about 5 weeks. So it does seem that just months ago, Labour promised no income tax hikes, zero. No new burdens on working people. And they kept slinging that phrase out there, working people. Now, suspicious minds might say that that could be a get-out clause, that they don't intend to hurt working people. They intend to now raise taxes on those that aren't working, i.e. burden those on benefits, burden pensioners, the elderly, and perhaps business owners. Food for thought. But it does seem that with the 2025 budget 4 or 5 weeks away, they seem to be walking back nearly every guarantee that they made a mere, 10 months ago. Why? Well, it's because the numbers don't lie, and quite clearly the state of Britain's frankly awful financial situation is about to catch up with them in a big way. So I want to look at several factors. So the first one being the promise versus the problem. So we know that Labour's 2024 manifesto explicitly pledged not to raise income tax, not to raise national insurance, not to raise VAT on working people. Draw from that what you will. But promises made during election campaigns, they often collide massively with economic realities once a government inherits what they always say are existing deficits, and we were handed this problem, look at the state of what we were given, and all the rest of that bollocks that they like to spout for the first 12 months in power. So they're basically blaming deficits that were handed to them, structural pressures that weren't fixed by the Conservative government in the term before. And this has been, and it's going to be, their get-out clause. So Reeves's first budget, October 2024, already introduced large tax hikes, mainly to businesses, £40 billion worth, billion with a B, a huge number, even though she claimed that they would be the last of the Parliament, and those are her words verbatim. From the back of this, you've basically then got an economic pressure cooker. That's what I liken it to. You've got growth forecasts which have just deteriorated, and in fact they've nosedived. Far weaker than expected growth means lower tax revenue than assumed. Of course it does. If you've not got the growth, you're not pulling the taxes from it, ergo the coffers aren't as full as they would like them to be. Coupled with this, you've got borrowing costs that are massively high. The UK is facing elevated interest rates on sovereign debt, which is pretty much maxed out. So servicing the debt eats into any fiscal or financial, whatever you want to call it, into any headroom that there may be. You've got welfare and you've got departmental spending constraints. Many budgets are already locked. And they're actually locked in by prior spending reviews. And this leaves few places to cut without initiating political fallout. And then you've got the fiscal rules box, where basically Reeves is constrained by rules about debt, about borrowing, about deficit targets. So large structural revenue increases may ultimately be necessary for her to do what she thinks she needs to do. You've obviously got, with this, you've got political pushback, both inside the Labour Party and from other parties. Rebel Labour MPs have already forced U-turns on proposed welfare and benefit cuts. Things like universal credit adjustments, for example. Many in the public sphere and in the media now accuse Labour of hypocrisy, and rightly so. Making strong anti-tax promises and then reversing them, it damages credibility. It doesn't do anything to help them possibly secure that second term. And economists and think tanks are warning that piecemeal, reactive tax increases do hurt long-term growth more than disciplined, transparent reforms. So what have they done to mitigate this? What can they do? I mean, really, they've got two approaches. They've got the stealth approach and they've got backtracking moves, which we've already seen. So Labour may avoid raising basic rates of tax, income tax or VAT, but instead raise other taxes. They might increase employer national insurance contributions, or they might reclassify the tax bases and the thresholds, and thereby eke money out by lowering thresholds or increasing bases. And I mean, it sounds great on paper. Yes, it will bring in more revenue, but ultimately it's going to be businesses that suffer in this budget, massively so. And it's going to be the smaller ones. It's going to be the sole traders, SMEs. They're the ones that are going to feel it the most. They could freeze or reduce the thresholds. What this would do is basically it would mean that inflation then pushes people into higher bands. So it's a deliberate tax push, which would again increase the revenue at the expense of hurting people, which they've said they wouldn't do. We'll see how long that holds out for. They could adjust capital gains tax, property tax, stamp duty reforms, inheritance tax, lower ISA investment thresholds, forcing people out of cash ISAs and into stocks and shares ISAs, hoping that that's going to bolster the economy. Honestly, it's just going to piss people off. I don't want a stocks and shares ISA. I know that statistically, they do, on the whole, over time, perform slightly better than a cash ISA, but I like the flexibility and the access that a cash ISA gives. And for that reason, I don't have a stocks and shares ISA, just a cash ISA. So it'd be a proper kick in the dick if they reduce the threshold on that, thus forcing investment elsewhere. It's not going to make them very popular. None of the options that are on the table are terribly good. And I'm neither left nor right, neither red nor blue. I don't have any affiliation to any political party. They're all clowns. But looking from the outside in, I can see there are no good choices that they have to make. And really, there are no good outcomes. Somebody is going to get hurt through this budget. Somebody's going to lose. Maybe more than one group of people. Basically, Reeves is under massive pressure. She's already publicly signalled that she no longer stands fully by the pledge against tax increases. And this was after only 3 weeks ago when she was interviewed. I think it might have been Talk TV or Sky News or something like that. It's on YouTube. But she was interviewed and they said, look, are you going to increase taxes? And she just kept spieling out the same manufactured sentence. We stand by the manifesto. It was in our manifesto and that's what we stand by. That's what she said. But now she has to backtrack on that. There's no way she can't. So, yeah. So The Guardian and the IFS, they warn of a half-baked dash for revenue. Basically, if Labour doesn't think through the structural tax reform that it needs to think through, I would say it's done. That's it. It's a done deal. If Labour truly wants to keep trust, if they truly want even a smidge of a shot at another term, they're going to need to stop playing whack-a-mole with tax promises and instead just be honest. It's the only way out. The only way out is structural reform, is to have real, broad sweeping changes, not these cloak and dagger hidden stealth moves that threaten to hurt one group of people, threaten to hurt another. They serve no purpose. It just pisses people off. So what are your thoughts on this? Drop it in the comments, let me know. Is it worse to make a promise and break it, or to be just honest from day one? Or is it better to ask for forgiveness than permission and just raise the taxes and to hell with what everybody wants? Drop it down below, let me know. YouTube is going to put another video there. Like, follow, subscribe, ring the bell, all that jazz. Another video tomorrow. Goldman, peace out.